Jumbo everybody, in today's video, I'm a little hesitant about this, but I am responding to your assumptions about me. So I put a call out on Instagram for what your assumptions are about me. It's something that everybody's kind of been doing lately. And I was like, well, I was kind of hesitant to do it, but I was like, nah, I'm just going to do it. So here we go. You sleep with socks on. This one really made me giggle. I actually do not sleep with socks on. Unless it's the negative 20-degree weather that we had a couple weeks ago, and then I did have socks on when I slept. But most of the time, I actually do not sleep with socks on. That you, meaning me, smell amazing. So I'm gonna say most of the time yes, unless I'm using like valerian oil or dyes or something, and then I don't smell very amazing. But most of the time, I'd like to think so. I don't know. You're an only child. That's interesting. So I'm actually not an only child. I have an older sister. She's older than me by 5 years, and some of you guys watching this know her. We live in the same town, kind of, I guess like a couple towns over, but like the same general metro area, so I do see her fairly often. And yeah, I am not an only child. I am a younger child, though, by 5 years. I assume that your house always smells really good with oils. This is accurate. I tend to not diffuse essential oils that are on the stinky side. I tend to do the ones that smell really nice or support my immune system. So the front part of my house consistently smells like Christmas because I always diffuse thieves in my music room, and that's like right at the front door. Farther back into the house, though, I do some other types of blends like Valor, Highest Potential, Harmony, things like that that smell really, really nice. So that's a great assumption. You love life and you secretly work for Disney. So I do love life. This is very true. I do not secretly work for Disney, although my goodness, I would love to make a commission from Disney because I feel like I talk about Disney enough. They should pay me. Disney, if you're watching this, you and me. I do not. I've never been a cast member or anything. I've never lived in Florida or any of that stuff. I just really, really like Disney World and the Disney community of fans. You gave up your music for oils. Okay, so there's little truth in that. Just to give you a little backstory. When I was 17 years old, I decided that my major in college was going to be instrumental music education because I was a flutist and I was like, I want to be a band director, either middle school or high school. So I went to university, and my initial major was instrumental music, K-12. And then towards the end of my sophomore year, I decided I really love private teaching and I don't want to give that up. Like, even when I'm a band director, I still want to be a private teacher because that has been my passion up until that point. So I decided to add flute performance as a second major. So I graduated with a double major in instrumental music education and flute performance. So towards like my junior and senior year of college, I was in my field experience kind of like observing the teachers in the various middle schools or high schools that I was assigned to, and was doing a little bit of band directing and all of that. And I was a very good, like, competent director. Like, I could do all the motions, cueing, like I always had rave A's and like rave reviews about my conducting. I was very good at that, but I did not like the classroom management part of it. When you have 50 to 100 middle schoolers in front of you or high schoolers, that wasn't me, not my personality. But when I was in my field experience, I really liked working individually with the students, pulling them out, helping them, putting them back in the classroom. Like, it was like private teaching. I loved that. So when I graduated from college, I was running the numbers and I was like, is there any possible way that I can just be a private teacher and make the same amount of income that I would if I was a band director? So I was running the numbers, and I would have to have a lot of students. So I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. So I ended up getting a long-term substitute position at a neighboring school from where I lived, where I was the middle school band director and the assistant high school director. And that solidified just how being a band director in a public school setting was not my passion It just wasn't at all. But I learned some really valuable skills in college. And so I was like, what could I transfer those to? So I was the band director for a little bit of time. I ended up leaving because I knew it wasn't going to be a full-time position anyway, because the lady was coming back from maternity leave. So I ended up working at a college. And I started at one college, switched over to a different college, and I worked in academia for about 7 years. First in college admissions, actually first in a music department as like a receptionist, administrative assistant, then in the admissions department, and then in the nursing department. So towards the middle end of that, Annie Simple Life came about, first as a blog, then as a YouTube, and then essential oils entered my life. And all the while, I was teaching privately on Saturdays. I think the fullest I had a studio was like 27 students, which is a lot of students. Even if you are private teaching full time, that is a lot of students. And then I also won auditions in some orchestras here that I still play with full time here in town. So I was like, I'm over my head right now. I think I can be an entrepreneur. I think I can leave academia. I can private teach. I can, take any gig that I possibly can, yada, yada, yada. So I had a very full studio of students from 4 or 5, maybe 6 different school districts. And it was taking a toll on me a lot. I was exhausted by the end of my teaching. I would lose my voice like every single day. So I was like, okay, can I cut back on any of this? All the while, I started using essential oils and loving them. And I started talking about them on my YouTube channel and talking about them to friends. And that started to snowball into income for me just by accident because I was loving these things. These things were helping my immune system, my digestion, like all the things. And so I was like, okay, it's time for me to cut back my studio because I can, because of the oils. So now I have oils up here. I have been able to cut back my music studio, so I am only teaching out of 3 districts now instead of 6. I have the gigs that I love. I don't have to take every single one of them, and it is so empowering to be able to make those decisions. So there is half truth in this, but not the full story. I assume you are planning on not having children. That's interesting. So that's still up in the air. We don't know. Maybe we will have a child or 2. Maybe we will not. My husband and I have been married for almost 13 years. We got married very young, so there we go. But we are still making that decision. So that's still a question mark up in the air. We don't really know. Assuming you're sensitive because, well, musician, and fun and friendly because, and then I looked at the other the rest of this because it got cut off because I love Disney. And the truth of the matter is sensitive is kind of a right word. I think it's empathetic, I think is maybe a more accurate way of saying that. But as a musician, you tend to be told no way more than the average bear. You know, you go in for an audition as a flutist and they are getting like 1 flutist to sit in the seat that you're auditioning for, and there's like 25 other people you're auditioning with. As a musician, you're told no a lot. And so you end up developing a really thick skin to like critique and criticism. And YouTube does that too. But from like I guess like an emotional standpoint, I really relate to people and I do take on other people's energy. So I guess that is some part of a sensitiveness that I do have. All right, guys, thank you so much for those who put their assumptions of me on Instagram. I know it's not easy to be honest with people, so I really appreciate that. And I hope you guys enjoyed this and got a little more of a look inside my life a little bit, if you haven't already. And you'd like to, hit that button down below, subscribe, so you never miss a daily video. Let me know what you assume about me, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Ciao.